Hello and welcome everybody to a study about how much can I disassociate from my own actions before the intro to the video starts. Today's victim is none other than a classic and a favorite, innocent bystander that I'm discriminating against, number 32. Today's method is very simple. We're sending this guy to a little area I like to call the international incident that's waiting to happen. Now, they didn't do anything wrong in particular, but their skin color is blue, which means that they need silk for their homes to be built, something I don't particularly have right now. And with food being more of a luxury right now, we're gonna do a little something I like to call making budget cuts on the budget cuts. Now, of course, when the government finds out about this, it's definitely going to reflect poorly on my reputation. But it's okay, because not only did I do a shady deal to get paid for their death, but I'll also eat them afterwards. And nobody can resist Alkomash Keshkabar's legendary barbecue sauce. So the rest of the village isn't gonna mind it at all. So how about it? Besides, it says the explosion is gonna be pretty small and controlled, so this shouldn't backfire in any way. So the international incident, if you can believe it, turned out to be an international incident. For the longest time, I never really managed to get deep into city builders. Every single one I played always involved some sort of unplayable mechanic, like paying taxes. And of course, once again, paying taxes in the most city builder way imaginable is the win condition. And as to be expected, there's only one thing that comes faster than hell when you don't pay your taxes: death. Because if the government gets too impatient, everyone instantly dies, and your time is instantly wasted. But, and this is my favorite part, you can pay taxes in various different ways, involving but not limited to IKEA building sets, instruction manual not required, Louis Vuitton clothing, extra chic, Kentucky Fried Chicken sourced directly from the rapidly disappearing population, crowbars, a lot of crowbars, various boxes, contents included. As you can imagine, just this mechanic alone makes this a very diverse and complicated game. But there's more. Against the storm is a roguelite city builder, which is a very fancy way of saying that every single moral decision you take is gonna leave everyone with the equivalent of secondhand smoke in the lungs. Government doesn't like the population rapidly disappearing? Simply stop reporting the disappearances. Merchant prices are too high? Reduce their prices to zero by attacking them directly, because nothing says capitalism more than capitalizing on the fear of death. The government won't like it, and you'll be widely disliked for it, but even this can be twisted into an advantage. When I say that this world is your oyster, I mean that in the literal sense. Occasionally, I like to get immersed in my games, which sometimes means making too much sense out of things that inherently don't make that much sense. Check it out. On a new run, the game decided to present me with a cake, because I would get foxes for my settlement, and it would give me a lot of them too. Now, foxes come with a very powerful ability of being extra useless when you don't want to do glade events. Sprinkled on top of that cake that the game has given me some frosting, because foxes have the greedy requirement of 2 metal ingots as well as 4 planks for their preferred home to be built. And then add to the top of that cake a cherry, because throughout that entire run I did not get a single combination of items that allowed me to make metal ingots in any way, which meant that the only way to get them was by bargaining with merchants, who incredibly enough never brought with them any metal ingots whatsoever, which leaves me with a beautifully decorated erect middle finger staring me straight into my face. Now that's definitely terrible luck, but it's okay, because in one final act of hubris, I put the entire race of foxes away from the main settlement and surrounded the whole thing in anvils. I then promptly proceeded to lose that run, and despite the hiccups that bad luck kept sending my way, losing that run was entirely my fault. This is a city builder that not only tells you but also gives you the tools to industrialize, trade, innovate, and overtly exploit the natural wildlife, until you cut through the woods and find a slightly worrying workplace incident that's about to become everyone else's problem. I never understood why, but this happens quite a lot, so I learned to adapt, strategize, and overcome. In other words, I sent a select number of the marginalized straight into the blast, which then turns those people into a pretty funny memory, some hot fire cash, and a really good meal. Look, if we're gonna rationalize half the things that happen in this game, then this video is going to make a lot less sense than it already does. So instead, before I tell you about the 12 degrees of cognitive dissonance I like to obey when I do any long run, let me first explain how the game works fundamentally. It's a roguelite, and the way that takes form is very simple. You start out at the center of the map. The whole thing is randomly generated with various biomes, events, and modifiers. You have a given amount of in-game time to do the most you can before the map resets. The longer you take to beat or lose a single run, the less time you have overall. The more runs you do, the more you get. The faster you level, the more you unlock. And the more you unlock, the less you know about what you're doing, which is honestly my favorite part. But what's really my favorite part is, the more you unlock, the less you know about what you're doing. The less you know about what you're doing, the faster you climb. The faster you climb, the faster you dine. Mostly on your own villagers. Where you choose to set your settlements will affect the biome your settlement is in, as well as any modifiers if you settle near one. I don't recommend making these decisions mindlessly, because I personally did that for about a quarter of my playtime, and let me tell you, you're gonna feel real stupid when you bring along humans who are good at farming to an environment that contains no valid area to farm in, or when you bring beavers who are good at woodcutting to an environment that contains not even a single tree, or when you bring harpies who are good at being victims to an environment that contains me. In any way whatsoever, the number of things that you can build will always be heavily limited at the start, but eventually orders from the government will come in. Completing these will provide you with various tax benefits, but the most basic and important one here is reputation. The way you win or lose is based off of a mechanic called reputation and impatience, and the way it functions is reminiscent of the time me and my friends played Enshrouded. When me and my friends play a game, it's a lot less about playing the game and a lot more about how quickly you can get one over the other. So when we started playing an open world survival game, it was only natural for us to develop a culture about hiding toilets. The apex of the group wasn't the one who contributed the most, more so than the one who found the most toilets. Conversely, the inability of the rest of the group to find the hidden porcelain thrones would eventually cause conflict. Some of us innovated. Some of us offered bribes and services for hints and information. Some even built more hidden toilets, and I started rate limiting my computer's hardware and glitching into the wall, recording the process, then going back in the footage frame by frame to analyze it and estimate the hidden toilets' locations. But as time passed and more attempts failed, impatience grew, and the group would eventually begin to question the existence of some of the most elusive and well-hidden toilets on the server. Between the various slurs that traded and open casket funerals we had, a particularly notorious friend of the group thought to pass the time by casting Fireball on the one-to-one replica of American Airlines Flight 175, the one that hit the southern tower. But little did he know that the most well-hidden toilet of them all was inside that very flight itself, and by shooting the airplane, he would damage the toilet with the explosion radius of the fireballs he was casting, which would go through the walls, eventually destroying the elusive toilet that managed to slip us all, causing the most well-hidden toilet of them all to never be found by anyone other than its creator, and becoming the first recorded case of a toilet-related terrorist attack in the friend group, dotting the whole friend group server into the post-toilet massacre era, and forever sealing his reputation in the group to be that of a domestic toilet abuser. And so, as a perfect reflection of real life, the mechanics that lead you to win or lose the game is reputation and impatience. Impatience is always slowly building, and some events, such as people leaving the settlement or dying, will feed into it. To hold it back and eventually win, the mechanic of reputation kicks in. Essentially, for every full point of reputation, impatience goes down by 1. And at a certain threshold of reputation, based off the difficulty, you will get to choose a new blueprint, presented to you as a quote-unquote gift by the government. To get reputation, there's primarily 3 things you can do. The first and most standard basic way is by fulfilling orders, but orders alone won't give you enough to win on the higher difficulties. The second and somewhat more complicated way is resolve points, which is just meeting a certain threshold of happiness on your villagers and maintaining it. And thirdly is the more complicated and unpredictable way, which is glade events. Glade events vary wildly. They can be anything between sending back home a bunch of boxes you found, or by braving whatever fucked up shit is out there in the wild. And there is, trust me, a lot of fucked up shit. The entire premise of this game is that there used to be some really weird gods that lived in this place. Eventually, they committed tax fraud, and the government didn't just ban their religion, but also banned the gods too, forsaking them, forever sealing them in a magically sealed prison. Eventually, somebody got a little too honest with the shredded mozzarella bag at 3 in the morning. Gods, really just every almighty entity in the world didn't like that, and for that reason, or whatever paywalled reason the developers put up, the Forsaken Gods would eventually crack through the seals of their prison, allowing for their influence to once again pollute the world. Their religion once again practiced, prayers once again heard, and taxes once again unpaid. And so it is the ultimate goal of the game for you to lock them up once again. Why do we not kill them instead? I don't know. The developers definitely didn't think that far, because if we can build 13 nuclear bombs in 3 minutes, then yeah, we can kill them. Yeah, we can definitely kill them. We can kill them. Yeah, we absolutely could kill them. My immersion is ruined and the erection is flaccid. And to feel better about myself, I like to make little settlements named after the developers that eventually fail in spectacular ways. As a part of the influence of the Forsaken Gods, every once in a while a very severe blight storm happens, which is a weather event so extreme that it straight up terraforms and alters the shape of the world around it. This is also how one of the roguelite aspects happen. When this event happens, all of your settlements get wiped and you start all over, getting upgrade points based on how well you did. The event is inevitable. You can only delay it, but the government has a trick up its sleeve, a way to protect the capital from the storm, and since you as a character don't want to die, you're gonna be paying your taxes. Regardless of what location you set out to, one thing is gonna be very clear. This is a forest dense world, so dense that you can't really see what's out there, and you only start with 2 resources in your area. To resolve this, wood cutting is gonna be a very standard and basic thing you do. You're gonna cut your way into new places to exploit, or a very big problem that's about to go off in 13 minutes. You see, the forest, other than being unreasonably violent, likes to respect the laws of quantum physics. In particular, things don't technically exist until you observe them. So that bomb that's currently going off in there is just something that you made up until line of sight is established. Then, very quickly, all your negative karma begins manifesting in forms that reflect your spirit animal, including, but not limited to, a very angry cauldron. A very angry cauldron that's about to blow up. Horse. Singular. A workplace incident. A horde of angry lizards. Goons. Gangs, criminals, the El Gaguga Giga 3000, some dead motherfuckers, robbed motherfuckers, robbing motherfuckers, and motherfuckers that are about to get robbed, as well as my personal favorite, piracy. You interact with these events not just to stop them from going to shit in 13 minutes, but also for their rewards, which are usually worth the effort. The choice you make in every event will affect what reward or punishment you get. Now, as far as the basics go, that's about it. All of these are things you would gather intuitively from playing the game. As for the more, say, technical parts of the game, well, to put it simply, Against the Storm is the type of game that's got 24 difficulty settings. And after playing it for over 100 hours, beating the gold seal, and getting the credits to roll, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that I'm still in the tutorial. In other words, I got 2 sides in me. The mindless monkey that plays and acts in the moment without an inkling of thought, and the silverback gorilla that treats the pause button like it's my best friend and plays with at least 3 Excel spreadsheets open in the background. And this right here is a game that appeals to both of these sides, and to further explain it in its complexities and various strategies would be to do it injustice.
Wow! I assault 4 of them in a row and everybody's chill, but the moment I call them what everyone should be calling them, a bunch of harpers, suddenly everyone's got issues. What a bunch of bitches. What a bunch of bitches. Honestly, cowardice. What a bunch of bitches. What a bunch of
In this game of chance, there's no such thing as chance. This is a skill-based gambling machine. A lot of the perks are balanced to be powerful in one way or another. And if you don't like them, then you can re-roll them. Or you can be a complete money-loving goblin like me and only re-roll when you get legendary cornerstone choices. That way, you can min-max your chances at getting the trading cornerstones. If your strategy of making complex items fails for one reason or another, in this game, trading acts as a safety net. If you can't find or make what you want, then try trading for it, and if that fails too, then try killing for it, and if that fails too, then try killing your own people, and if that fails too, which in my experience, it shouldn't, but if it does, then try sacrificing them to the Forsaken Gods for a blessing. Don't like the economy? Become the economy. If you're into city builders or just slot machines in general, then this is a great game to check out. Now that I've sung my praises about the base game itself, I will now divert our attention to the downloadable content that doesn't contain much content. let me be very clear before I delve into any details that both DLCs are priced at half the price of the game. The game itself is $30 and both DLCs are at $15 each. The first DLC is Keepers of the Stone. For the price of $15 it adds 3 things. The frog race and 2 new biomes. The frogs are good with rocks and like working with rainwater. They also come with the debilitating effect of being homeless, in that they will refuse basic housing altogether and will only accept specialized housing. Their starting ability is to locate the nearest ruins, which, if you're lucky, is actually pretty interesting. If you know what building you're gonna get, you can think pretty far ahead if you're interested in the more complex ways of playing the game. It is worthy of note as well that you unlock them at level 9. For reference, level cap is 20 and 14 is halfway to 20. So if you're on a fresh save, it's gonna be a while before you get to play with them. One of the 2 biomes it adds is the Ashen Thicket. The twist of this biome is that you can craft your own cornerstones. The cornerstones you make consist of a condition and an effect. You get 4 randomly selected choices for each condition and effect for every craft. You can also choose to apply a one-time negative effect to further enhance the positive effect of the cornerstone. Although you're limited to only making 3 per settlement, let me tell you, getting to choose your own condition and benefit turns the entire experience from a struggle in a hostile and wild environment to free real estate. I mean, just look at this. This is only one. I haven't even made the other 2, and I get to have 5 tools every 3 trading routes. It's free real estate. It's free real estate when you run into this shit. I'm fucking rich! I'm cracking it home! I'm sending home every single fucking box I run into! We're making money out here! To build them, however, you have to get a Thunderblight shard. You get one by using 40 mining charges. Mining requires the mine, which is a contender for one of the worst buildings in the entire game, because there is one of 3 things you can mine: coal, which is useful and used in many complicated buildings; copper ore, which is nearly useless as not a lot of buildings can use it; and salt, which is almost actually useless because I only ever found one building, the field kitchen, that can use it to make a complex food. The complex food in question is paste, which is the worst complex food in the entire game. That's not even to mention that the mining process is slow and usually far from a warehouse. Fixing any of those issues is of course possible, but it comes at a steep, unrefundable cost on a building that is already pricey to build. This, as a strategy, usually isn't worth the headache, but with the Thunderblight shard reward, it's now generally worth considering. The biome brings something new and breathes life into an otherwise really shitty building. You can also name the cornerstones you make, so I can make true my dream of building Exodia Big Shack Balling Edition. Fuck yeah. I'd say they did a pretty good job with this one. The second biome the DLC adds is the Coastal Grove. You watching this shit? I'm watching this shit right now. I can't believe what I'm looking at. Alright, this biome's actually pretty cool. There's 2 twists to this biome. The first one is that the entire map is C-shaped. Usually you start out in the center on an island and you can explore in any direction. In here, you can only explore in 2 directions, which means that walking long distances is gonna be a common problem that you'll have to deal with. The second twist, and really the main one, is that you get a unique building for this biome called the Strider Port. Through this, you can send the weirdo and his fucking boat on an expedition. All you have to do is choose what category of things you want, because they can find blueprints, resources, as well as cornerstones, and then give them some food for the journey. You can allocate extra resources to increase the chance of rare loot. The resources required for an expedition increases every time you use it, and at a certain point, you will have to start allocating complex foods along the usual resources. So there is a bit of a hiccup when it comes to using it, and you'll have to be a bit creative to get the resources for it. Although you do get less blueprint rewards from the reputation end of things by playing on this biome, you do get more cornerstones and blueprints overall just by interacting with it. In other words, they added even more gambling, except that it's rigged in your favor, because you get to choose what category of things you want. I didn't even mention the quantity of resources that you get alongside this. There is of course some new cornerstones and buildings that come with the DLC, but running into those is entirely dependent on luck. The second DLC is the Night Watchers. Just like the first one, this one adds a race and 2 biomes. The bats are special in more ways than one. In the entire realm and dimension of Against the Storm, no one is more capable at memorizing every slur in the book than the bats themselves. They even come with a racism building where you choose one random person from a race to kick out. Cool. What do you get out of this? One extremely negligible buff. Amazing. Finally, they added blatant discrimination into the game, though the buff does stack and doesn't expire, so in longer runs this can actually be pretty interesting. There's even a cornerstone that you can get if you have frogs and bats together, where bats will get increasingly happier for every 2 frogs that leave or die. The bats also come with a unique effect. For every 2 villagers of other races that leave or die, they will get a stack that gives them +1 resolve. For every lost bat, they lose 1 stack. This actually could have been interesting to use, but not only did they give bats the worst proficiency in the entire game, metallurgy, not only did they also remove your ability to favor them, but they also have no comfort specialization at all, making them even more fragile than harpies. Also, their specialized homes cost 2 pipes to make, making it the most expensive home in the entire game. More expensive than foxes even. Metallurgy proficiency on paper sounds good. You get a 10% chance to double the production on a rare and highly valuable resource. The problem here is that it's rare. You don't get many chances to work with metal in this game. Harpies suffer from similar problems too. They're proficient with alchemy, which is a fairly niche thing, but it's nowhere near as rare and niche as metallurgy. They're also locked behind level 11, which means that it'll be a minute before you can check them out on a fresh save. Despite being a race about racism, the turns have most certainly tabled when I ran into this race after my tens of hours of shitting on harpies. Relationship ended with hyper-harassed harpy number 22, and a new relationship began with the soon-to-be blowed-up bad race. But hey, the first DLC featured 2 very interesting biomes. I wonder what the 2 in this one are like. Well, the first one is a joke, and the second one is the rocky ravine. All trees are now rocks, and to get wood you buy it from the black market. This of course doesn't affect me because most of my strategies on playing this game revolve around my overwhelming greed and desire to make money. Check out the Patreon. Against the storm. Pretty good city builder. Think about it. You want it to be simple? It can be really simple. You want it to be complicated with a progressively more complicated late game? It can get so complicated that the game's ability to keep track fails. It just says that you get shit and doesn't tell you where you got it from or why. When I review a game, it's usually a game that's either hard, fast, or socially questionable. This one can be hard, but it's always socially questionable. The genius of the design truly shined when they replaced the entire subject of politics with gambling. Now you can commit horrible acts that go against the Geneva Convention and refer to it all as Big Shaq's crazy applesauce trade. I did not realize the depravity of my actions until confronted about them while I was turning the household of every fox into a phallic joke. My brother walked into the room and asked me a simple question. Hey man, this game looks interesting. What are those pieces of Lego that you're putting down? As the disassociation wore off, honesty came out of me. Oh, I'm building a dick. It's made of a bunch of fat. The game goes on sale a lot, and so do the DLCs. And if you're still unsure, then remember that you can just buy the game with a really big discount. Like a really big discount. A big one. A large one. Significantly sized. You know, the type that you get from like Polish people in dark alleyways when you and them trade each other something along the lines of a magnet or a torrent file, and then they show you, you know, like a list of IP addresses. You picking up what I'm putting down? You smelling what I'm cooking? You hollering at my wallet? Yeah? You seeing what I'm making out? You reading what I'm writing down? You picking on my signaling? You understand my sign language here? Yeah? I'm of course referring to buying the game on April Fool's Day. And a humble but not so humble reminder that there is a Patreon. For giving me money, you get access to a server with a dedicated channel for posting monkey-related images. Alright, let's check the to-do list here. Shill a product, check. Mention piracy, legally, that's unchecked. Shill the Patreon, check. Alright, yeah, cool, fantastic, amazing. That's a hermos video right there.